Bolling.
And I'm MidnightAce.
I'm Cara Morris.
Welcome to Well, There You Go, a weekly discussion on books, hooks, and corks, where we give our views on reads, music, and wine. So let's get started with
Well, there you go.
Well, hello, and welcome to this week's show. I am your host, Iris Bolling, and I have two of my, I don't want to call them criminals.
Oh my goodness.
But there's shenanigans that's always going on.
It is
On and
always
off the
something
camera.
happening with Well, There You Go. So this week, please take a moment and say hello to MsPrissy Parker. Say hello, MsPrissy.
Hello, everyone, loyal book lovers. Thank you for
And
joining us again.
also, for our other partner, please say hello to MidnightAce, better known as Cynthia Buckner. Well, no, it's Cynthia Buckner, better known as MidnightAce.
Exactly.
Say hello, Midnight.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.
You are in for a week of shenanigans because all of us are a little tipsy right now. And
Well, look, right now, I think we always are.
we always are. So this week, for the past weeks, we've been talking about the Lasseters, right?
Yes.
And we've talked about Fire and Timothy, and have we did Ruby's book yet? Yeah, we did Ruby.
Yes, we've been there, Ruby's book.
Okay, we did Ruby, we did Samuel, we did Pearl.
Yes.
So now we're up to son number 3.
And to think she wasn't even going to write my man's story.
Where there's a story behind the story, guys. So let me
Yes.
let me give you the story behind the story. So I'm on this bus. We're in Detroit. We're at Beverly Jenkins PJ party.
Yeah.
We're on the way to the museum.
Right.
And so we're taking the bus. This is how Leah had got the bus company.
It all
Oh,
fits.
Lord.
It all fits. So we're taking the bus from the hotel and we're going into Detroit to the museum. And on the way to the museum, MsPrissy, you okay over there?
I am. I'm just laughing because it's part of this part of the story.
Okay. So we're on the way to the museum. MidnightAce and I are sitting next to each other, and we start talking about Matthew. And we're saying, what am I going to do for Matthew's story? And we start talking about this bus trip, and we say, okay, got to have something to do with the kids, because Matthew is the teacher, so it have to have something to do with the kids. And then we decided, because we had this really, really fine bus driver, y'all. Let me put that out there just so you know. But anyway,
Really?
so we decided we wanted Leah to be the bus driver, and she has to do something with the school and that's how Matt and Leah was going to meet. And we came up with this entire story on the bus ride to the museum. Do you remember that, Midnight?
Yeah, I do indeed. And then, let me tell y'all too, that bus ride was not that long because we weren't that far from where the museum is.
No, we were
This is
not.
what happens when you get a creative mind and you start to
That
go.
it does.
And then, she'll say one thing, and then we talk, wait a minute, oh, what about this? And then I'll say one thing, and then she'll say one thing. And then she was like, well, somebody got to be writing this down. So I go to color notes and write down my little stuff, right? Then we come on back home, and I think it was probably a week or so, maybe.
A week later?
And then MsPrissy and her get on the phone, and then she started telling her, and then MsPrissy put in her little magic. And then
Now,
they
don't
were like,
forget the
"Wait a
people
minute,
on the
what about
bus.
the notes?"
Don't forget the people on the bus.
Oh
Well,
yeah, it was a lady behind us.
Behind us.
She was putting her 2 cents in
2
too. And
cents
she
in.
said, I really want to read that book when it's done. Because really, to be honest with you, sparing some words in between that, the story was already written before we got back home.
Before we got back home. before
But
we got back home.
remember, she wasn't even going to write Matthew's story. How many years had I been begging her to write that story? But I understand it comes when it comes. So
It comes when it comes.
Yeah.
And Matthew's story turned out to be one of the best freaking stories because it dealt with everyday in the crunch type stuff. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't anything outlandish. They didn't blow up anything. I'm not gonna say they didn't beat anybody.
But they did something better than blowing up something, honey, because
they did.
I think, you know what? I said that remember, I think, I don't know if I had this conversation before, that I was just like, we don't get a chance to see much of Joe. Like, Joe is there in the background. Sally really be, she is the caboose in that whole family. But
we know this. Yes.
But honey, Joe was all up in that book. We even had Joe throw some hands up in there, and I was like, yes.
Okay. But look, Sally was the nosy one. Now we kind of know where Fire gets it from, because she called Matt and said, well, would you like for me to cook anything? Do you need for me to cook anything or whatever? And I could just drop it off. And And he was like, no, Sally.
Oh, no way.
And she said, and this is even before they really got together, just the fact that, he had found someone that he was interested in, or that was interested in him and everything. And she was just trying to get in and see, make sure.
She wanted to see who this woman was that had captured her son's attention so completely. Yes. Now, for
who told her about that, though? It wasn't
Luke.
Fire.
It was Luke.
Oh, Luke told him, because
remember Luke was there inspecting the house and then trying to tell him how to talk on the phone and everything.
I love that.
He was like, look, he's like, don't say that.
And then when he got off the phone, he was like, that worked for you?
Yeah.
And boy, did it work for him, right?
Yes, it worked.
It really did. I mean, it worked immediately too.
Right.
But then again, the food. Y'all notice I really have some good food, some good recipes.
Yeah, and that reminded me of our get together when we was going to the Jazz Fest. How
we used to
Kathy
do the cooking.
Everybody used to get together.
Yes,
crab legs and crabs and steaks and lots, girl.
And everything, and I'm sure the audience is going, "What the heck are they talking about?" Because
we skipped right over Adonis.
But listen, this week we're going to talk with you about the book of Matthew's Adonis, which was created on a travel bus, which Leah owns the bus company. Okay.
All right.
Well, Leah didn't own the bus company at that time.
Right. Her daddy. That's another story in itself.
We are discussing the book of Matthew, which is book number 7.
I think it's
book number. Oh, you talking about in the last of the series?
Yeah. Because after Matthew, we only have Luke.
We have Jade. We have Jade and Luke.
Jade and Luke.
So
this is book number 7.
Yeah.
In the last year series.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, because he was after.
When you add in the book, 2 books of Joshua, and our story that of Joe and Sally, that brings him up to number 11.
No, Matthew is not number 11. No,
if you count 2 books, if you count the book of Joshua 2 times.
Okay, Midnight, that's what I want you to do. I want you to go in there and I want you to start with teach me.
I got it right here.
And count.
You're right. But it's still not 11, but it's still 10.
No, it's not 10 because
if I'm counting down story,
Jade is number.
Luke is
number 11. Jade is number 10.
I am counting in Joe and Sally's story.
Joe and Sally's story ain't got nothing to do with the regular
if you
last
take out Joe and Sally's story.
Joe and Sally's story is the last story.
Yeah, I know.
So the first book was Teach Me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was Samuel in the Heart series.
No,
Then
Samuel
No,
was
that's part
before
of the Heart
Teach Me.
series. So Teach Me, then the Book of Joshua,
Right.
1, Book of
Uh-huh.
Joshua 2, so that's
2.
for me.
Thank
And then
you.
we got Lasseter Christmas,
Yes.
Ruby Red Slippers,
That's 5.
Adam Story Hypnotic,
That's 6.
Symmetry with Opal and Timothy,
7.
Fire,
8.
and then now Matthew. So 9.
9.
Yeah.
He's number 9.
So that's why I said if you take out Bell Stirring, you take out, because I included the Heart series with Samuel, so I took that out, and then I had
But why
included.
would you take that out? Isn't that part of the Lassiter? I'm
No,
saying
that's
it's not a
Heart
part of the
series.
Lassiter series, but
That's part of the Heart series. That's not part of the Lasseter series. So Luke is number 9. Guys,
Number
for the
9.
audience.
Number 9. Technically number 9.
Number 9
Specifically
in
number
the
9.
in the Lasseter series.
The Gems and Gents.
The Gems and Gents series, right?
so Luke is number 9, and I thought we was talking about what number book was Matthew.
I mean, we talking about
We're
Matthew.
talking about
I'm
Matthew.
sorry. Why we
Matthew
just
is
say
number
the
9.
Luke?
I don't know how we got to Luke, but Matthew is number 9.
Well, you can't talk about Matthew without talking about Luke.
about
You can't talk about Luke without talking about Matthew.
Listen,
I can.
okay, because they had to pull out the measuring tape.
No, right, but that was from when they was in college too.
No, it wasn't high. Wasn't it in high school? It was in high school.
I don't know if they did it in high school or they did it in college, but they pulled out the measuring tape so that they could.
But wait a minute, didn't y'all see how after that whole scene when he said, "Don't get it twisted about your 7 inches or whatever"? Did y'all feel like in real life, if y'all was there, that Luke was kind of like, rah, rah, like it just kind of took the wind out of him a little bit, like, why you gotta talk about old stuff?
I know, right?
Poor baby.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, okay. So let's bring our listening audience into the story of Matthew. Matthew's story starts out. Matthew is a high school teacher coach.
Mm-hmm.
He's a coach, but he also teaches certain subjects. But at this particular period, he is the detention teacher. He's replacing someone because they went out on maternity leave.
Right.
So he's the detention teacher. But the story really starts out with Matthew at school, and they're getting ready for practice. Him and his guys are out there on the field, and they're doing their running.
Their routine, their morning routine.
Their routine.
Yeah.
And everything. And they are something's on my ear. And they happen to thank you. Thank you, MsPrissy.
You're welcome.
Oh my
and
God.
they have a little incident that takes place, right?
Right.
It's this young kid who goes by his name is Mackenzie, and they call him Mac. And some guys seem to be bothering him. And Matthew,
his cousin.
Well, yeah, it's his cousin. Oh, that's another scene, y'all. We got to talk about is when they visit the cousins out.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, yeah.
We got to talk about that. But anyway, and Matthew intercedes. Matthew goes over and he intercedes in this, even though Mac is not one of his students.
Right? One of his.
He's still interested, and he's not
he's a part of the community. That's what Matt called him. He's part of the community.
Always talk about community,
and I love that. I love that he teaches his team how to look out for each other as a community, and and they took it seriously, literally.
They did. There was
Coco was on the job.
Coco was on the job. What was the other guy's name? I can't think of his name.
Malone.
Yeah, Malone was the one to tell Coco.
Right, but Malone was also a force to be reckoned with, which we did not hear a whole lot about him. He was the driving force behind even Coco and
Mac.
And
right.
Mac. Yes, he
Because
was.
He really was.
Right, because I think for him, wherever he lived at, he had the vision of the street side, where
Right.
Coco had the feel and the school thing. Malone
Yep.
had both. And
Yep.
it was almost like he was like it was almost like he was like a leader of a gang, because when they were in detention, it was funny.
Yeah,
Like,
all
I
of
was
them.
like,
He had all
they do this.
the
I couldn't
boys,
pay
the
attention
team
where
follow
them
him.
went. Right. All of them got passes, y'all. They didn't
So
do
they
it
can
the
go to
wrong way.
They did it
They
legal.
got
Look, they
passes.
did it the right way.
Right.
They did it the right way. They
So
got
they all got
passes.
passes. Now remember, all of them not. This is high school, so all of them are not in the same classes. So at this
Not at
time,
all.
each one of them had to go get a pass, and then they came to support their team member in detention, because Coco got detention, and Coco got detention because he was trying to help Malone.
He was trying to help
He was trying to
Malone.
help
looking
Mac.
I
out
mean, not
for
Malone. He
Mac.
was trying to help Mac. He was trying to help
Yeah,
Mac.
He was
Yeah,
trying to help Mac.
yeah. And so
yeah,
both
because
him and
Malone
Mac,
told him, yo, look out for him. He got some people on his back
right,
and everything. Make
because
sure
they
nothing
were in the
happens.
same class, right? Those two were in the same class.
Yeah,
Malone, Mac and Coco were in
Coco
the
was in
same
the same
class.
class.
Right.
Were in the same class.
And so he got the job because he was in the same class with him.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was trying to look out for Mac, and they ended up being put in detention for acting up. And then while they're in detention,
Miss Blaine.
Adam,
little mini Adam. No.
No,
he didn't do
that
it.
is the little mini Adam. Blaine is the Fire. She's Miss Fire.
Yeah, but see, remember, Blaine was trying to keep the professor from telling them wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
That
And
rainbow
setting that
something.
fire in that classroom, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was Blaine. So Blaine got put into detention because she was telling the professor, what he was saying wasn't right.
And that's how it all came about, because no one believed her.
Here's the thing too, and this too is a really intricate part about that whole story, really, when you think about it, because Blaine knew all of the components that the professor was hooking up was going to create a disaster.
Right.
So she, unbeknownst to anybody else in the room, she inadvertently moved the ingredients.
Not inadvertently.
She purposely moved it because she knew.
Yeah, she moved it out. Wrong word. Yep. And so when they only saw that movement of her moving her hand. They did not see or pay attention or didn't capture what she was doing. But see,
when the professor moved it either, or what the professor was doing. I believe.
Yeah, but that professor also did not tell the truth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He did not tell the truth about what happened in there. So of course it caused a little bit of smoke and stuff. And the school had to go, fire alarm and all of that stuff.
Before we go any further, here's one of my favorite parts. And Iris, I'm happy you captured this. So before Blaine came in, it was Mac and Coco. So remember they was talking about the SATs and and Mac was, his SAT score is real. And Coco was saying his reading was, and when Mac told him, he's like, so Matt, the coach, was just listening, and he was saying that, he was just listening, and he was thinking it's interesting to hear these kids talk, and he was getting ready to give them assignment based on what the discussion was, until Blaine ended up coming in. And then the discussion got changed up. And when Mac called the blow pop, I was like, what the hell? What's a blow pop? Until she said, you gotta be out.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting. But Iris, what I love that you captured in this story as well is the teaching profession.
Yes,
I agree. They do not get enough credit.
They do not get enough credit.
Matt, as a teacher, not a lot of teachers or adults, period, listen to kids.
Yeah.
And he did. He listened to them kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned from them that they're more than what you visualize them at. Like these
How about
kids.
when Max said, "Oh wait, I can go into your bank account and take care of that." Such and such and such. All you gotta do is such and such and such and such and such and such. And Mac is
and change it, and him and Blaine.
Like, wait, hold up. No.
I could picture that in my head.
We don't do that. We don't do that. But I also like how Blaine put Mac in his place when he just assumed that this is what she was because of the way that she looked and the way that she carried herself. But Blaine had a brain.
Yeah,
she did. There. But he also put Blaine in her place.
Yeah, I was gonna say
they calling Mac. Yeah. I mean, for calling Coach out of his name, Coach Hottie.
Coach Hottie.
Yeah,
you know, that's why he did what he said. You know. Yep. So all of that was kind of, you know, and look, I could see Coco sitting back with his long legs stretched out, just observing and listening.
Yep. But now the whole purpose of Malone and all of the boys coming was to show that what Matt has been teaching them is exactly what's needed in our school systems and in our
community.
Because he wasn't just teaching them about football or basketball or whichever sport it was that they were working on at that time.
Right.
He wasn't just teaching them about school. He was teaching them about community too.
About life. You know, you got to be responsible for the people around you, accountable. You know, everybody got to be held accountable for their community. You know, whether you standing there and doing nothing or you're going to be active and
you're gonna be a part of that community. So that part was really, really good. Yeah, and then when they came up with this science fair idea, who brought that up? Was it Fire?
No, Fire brought it up to be a science fair, but they was already going to do it anyway to prove Blaine's innocent. That
because Matthew was looking for
is not always what you see.
Right. Well, so Matthew had to come up. He was trying to come up with something that they can do while they were in detention. Right. And then they were discussing Blaine's issue and how teachers, you know, adults, everybody always listen to the adults. It's almost like the kids don't have a voice.
Right.
And so and they were talking about it, and then Mac brought up the fact that he could prove it. And then, so he said that became their assignment. And then as he worked,
they requested more days in detention.
Yeah.
So that
who does that? Like more days in detention, really?
But so they could continue their project.
Yeah, and I thought it was, you know, I felt like I was really, you know, in a high school. Listen, because you also brought up the fact that, you know, the girls that Blaine hang out with, you know, how she just changed her whole, you know, how she behaved, you know, hanging out with the guys and they was working on a project and stuff. You know, they didn't even want to eat in the cafeteria. They went to take it back to the room.
I think Matt had such a connection with these kids that
he really did.
They didn't want to leave him. They felt like they were learning more from him because he was allowing them to express themselves, right?
Right. That's why I say he's a good listener. He was listening to the kids, you know, without them even really knowing that he was listening, not just hearing them, but listening.
Yeah, but you know what, guys? We did skip over a really important part of the story because remember, Matt's whole thing was that he was beginning to doubt himself.
Right. Yeah.
He was feeling like he was insignificant because all of his brothers and
his career. Yeah, his career wasn't as impactful as theirs as well.
Impactful. And the whole point of this story was to show teachers that they are more impactful than a whole lot of what his brothers and sisters were doing, you know. Right. So that was an important part of that discussion between him and Luke.
Yeah, and I like that because he's like, the kids are the next generation, and you helping prepare their minds and preparing them, to do what needs to be done and focus to,
Well, let's just say that the teachers don't necessarily get their recognition from the place that they work from, but the recognition comes from those.
Go ahead.
Those
I want to say something.
Yeah, the recognition comes from those kids, and I think it takes outside people telling Matt that, because it's not, you can't see it if you don't,
because he can't see it, and hearing it from his brothers and sisters and his parents, that's one thing. That's good. They support him and they love him and blah, blah, blah. But once it got to the point where he heard it from others that he admired,
and here's another important moment, and we cannot not state this. The fact that you put in that when Blaine was saying that the science professor wasn't supposed to be doing the rainbow project and everything because it was banned.
It had been banned.
And the fact that that teachers need to brush up on their education so they can teach something different and not stick to the same mundane stuff. That's how they lose kids in education, because kids get bored. Their mind is constantly moving and everything. So you gotta, refresh their minds and refresh yours as well. And I think what Terry setting out to do, or what Max suggested that Terry do, make teachers teach different subjects every now and then. Yes.
Now we've discussed Matt and what Matt does. Now let's switch gears and let's talk about Leah. Leah's situation was. Leah was on top of her darn game.
Yeah.
Period. Her father owned a bus company.
Mm-hmm.
And they owned a bus company. And Leah was running that bus company. She was running that thing. And she was suggesting to her father different things that they could do to
grow the business
and grow with the clientele of what was being needed from the clientele now. And he wouldn't listen to her simply because, let's say it,
she was a woman.
That's it. She brought nothing to the table. He didn't listen to her, any suggestions she put out there or anything of that nature. He paid no attention to it whatsoever. Simply because,
you know what's sad? That's how some men think. They think women have nothing to bring to the table simply because they're women.
That's
for Leah, that wasn't just at work.
They still, there's men out there that still think that way.
They do.
Yeah, but with Leah, it wasn't just at work; it was at home too, and it didn't start when she was an adult. It started when she was a child.
Yeah, and we have to get into what broke up their family, because that had a huge impact on Leah. And Leah's father and her mother were separated. And they were separated because Leah's mother had decided she wasn't cooking, cleaning, or nothing else for her husband. So Lyle, which is Leah's father, decided that since the mother was going to do it, now it was Leah's responsibility to do it.
But that's also because Leah picked up where her mother left off.
And she did it. And she did it gracefully because she loved her father. But it wasn't until her mother told her why she stopped doing it. So her mother told her why she stopped doing it. And she told her she wouldn't have stopped doing it if the father had showed that he appreciated her and that she was, and that he loved her. She would have kept doing it. Right. And so I think for that, but Leah kept doing it because she loved her father. She genuinely loved her father.
So on this particular day, Leah was also a cheerleader at school, and she went to the game. This Friday night, she went to the game to cheer for the team. Her father came up on the field, on the football field, called her every kind of whore that there was to be called, and slapped her, and even accused one of the coaches who tried to intercede with what he was doing out there on the football field. He even accused that teacher, that coach, of sleeping with his daughter. That coach ended up losing his job behind that, because when you do an accusation, the school has no choice but to follow
to investigate and
investigate that allegation. And his mother, when he came up there and he slapped Leah on that football field, Zelda said, "Oh hell no!"
Adjusted and nigga died.
She said, "Oh hell no!" And she took the gun off of, it was a police officer on the field at this time now, and she took that gun out of that holster and she shot her husband. She ended up losing.
Well, she attempted to shoot her husband. She missed because she had bad aim.
No, she shot him.
Shoot him. She shot him.
No, I know she shot him, but she didn't shoot him where she was trying to shoot him.
Oh, okay.
She was trying to kill him, but that didn't happen because she didn't know nothing about aiming the damn gun, and she just ended up shooting him in the ass, right? And so she ended up losing custody of the kids, and her agreement to not do time was to leave the Commonwealth of Virginia. So she moved to California, which left Leah there to have to deal with her father. And it was a domino effect. It also caused her brother to have to come home, but because of the way that Leah's father acted on that football field, social services couldn't leave Leah with the father, right? The brother was in college. He was 20. He was old enough to take custody of Leah and continue to raise her through high school. So this is what impacted Leah and Carter's life. That was her brother. Her brother was Carter. This is what impacted their life.
Yeah, so let me ask you ladies this. What did you think of Carter's wife? Like her anger or whatever. Do you think it was directed in the right place?
Absolutely not. It wasn't. But I think what happened was there was a conversation that needed to be had with her and Carter that did not take place.
That conversation,
right? Because when she knew what she was getting into, when she was with Carter, she was chasing a dream because she felt like he was going to become professional football or whatever.
Basketball
player. She really did love Carter, though. Let me put that out.
She did. She felt like her dream was taken away, but the anger was misguided because Leah was a child. You cannot put that on
Leah was a child.
Right. And if anybody were to blame for it, it should have been the father.
The father.
But again, before she married Carter, it should have been a conversation to be had.
It should have been a conversation at that point in time. So then we have Terry.
Yes, that's
Terry,
my girl.
who is the high school principal, who is Leah's best friend. And so when Terry called, after Matt tells her about this idea about the science fair, right? She needs transportation, and of course she don't have the money, to go through normal channels. So she contacts her best friend Leah. Leah begs her father for one of the buses, so that they can
experiment one of her
things, right? One of her ideas. She wanted to experiment with one of her ideas. Carter had to talk his father into allowing her to do this, right? So Terry calls Leah. Leah said, "I'll meet you for lunch." And she goes with what Leah has now been doing for years. She has food. And she has cooked. I don't even remember what I put in that particular menu.
Ribs, macaroni,
cobbler. We know cobbler was one of them. Yeah. And she took it over to the school to meet Terry for lunch. Well, while she's meeting Terry for lunch, Terry calls in Matt. And this is how Matt and Leah meet. And this is how they meet. That day, I can say neither one of them wasted any time. Anytime. Both of them knew immediately they was gonna get them a taste of those ribs from the other one. They knew this immediately.
Look, the funniest part was when they was in the conference room and Terry's eating and she's making all of these sounds
while she's eating.
And they had to pause to look at her. She was like, "Oh, this is just so
it's so good." It's so good.
I was like, "Dang, Terry."
So now we know how Leah and Matt meets. That's how they met. And that night, Matt goes home and he's talking to his brother Luke, who is over his house, searching through his house for some reason. He don't know why, but Luke is just going through everybody's house at this time.
Yeah, he is.
And at this point, it is
hearing the bases.
Matt's turn. And so he's going through his house and he's telling Luke about this woman that he met, right? And Luke is giving him all this advice because Luke is the big time NFL player. He got women coming out the yin yang, right? And he's telling Matt,
not more than Joshua,
schooling Matt on how to get this woman, right?
Right.
And so Matt is listening, but then he gets that phone call from Leah, right?
Yeah. Well, he called her first.
And now he called her.
He called
her.
Mm-hmm.
And so Luke is telling Matt what to say. And Matt ain't paying Luke.
That was funny.
He's just going on with his conversation. And Luke is in the background telling him.
He's like, oh my God, he didn't blew it. He didn't blew it.
He said, you done blew it, man.
And I blew it. But Matt didn't blow anything because within the hour, who shows up at his front door?
It was funny because he said, okay, I'm about to go up here and take a shower and I need you to go ghost, right? And he was like, that worked?
Yeah.
But I like the part where Joe was there when he got off of work, came to help him finish putting the pavers down and whatever.
In the back.
And he was telling him that, your woman is out there, you got this 5-bedroom house.
5-bedroom house for some reason.
Just giving him some wisdom and everything.
But that was on a different day, though. So that was a
different day.
But it was before he even met Leah. That's my point. Leah. Once he met Leah, then he started thinking, this is what I was preparing for. Right. This 5-bedroom house and everything.
That was one of my favorite quotes that Joe has said in there when he was talking to Matt about him never going you don't walk in your sisters and brothers footsteps. Your journey is your own.
It's your own. Yeah. It's your own. And
Joe
his journey became larger than what he knew. Y'all know what? Wait a minute. Didn't this story start with them in the president's office?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, because Joshua was about to be getting arrested for treason.
Yes. Yes. Big and by his brother Adam.
Right.
And so Matt had to explain.
Yep, he had to fly down there on the jet with his parents.
To the listening audience, this is what do you call it? The prologue or whatever.
Yes.
In the prologue, it starts out with them being in the president's office because you'll see
because of what happened at the science fair.
Because Matt had asked Joshua for some supplies for the kids to do their
all disc. He asked was a disc. All he needed was some disc. So instead of Joshua just going to the store and buying a disc, he takes one of
Adam's house when he gets the call. And there's nothing in Adam's house that should be seen by anybody.
By anybody. And so he sees this disc on Adam's lab in Adam's lab, and he said, "Well, here's a disc right here."
Right, not knowing if there's anything on it or not.
All he know
Yeah.
was Matt said he needed a disc.
Right.
So he there's a disc. He took the disc. So the disc that he took, however, was not something that should have been out in public. You know,
Mhm.
Well,
at
wait a
all.
minute. Wait, when they were using the disc, Matt found a program on there. It was an
Matt.
unfinished program,
He
right?
fixed the program.
Right. It was something that Adam was
Adam
working
had been
on for the
working on.
government, obviously.
But
And
I
then-
liked it. Coco and Blaine. It was like Coco was like, I don't feel comfortable going through this project without us telling another adult what we found, you know, in case something happened. Good thing they did.
yeah.
Good thing
because
they did.
then, okay, so from all of that, from Matt feeling like you know, not enough, not being enough, to getting the girl, you know, and having major chemistry with the girl, to having the kids in detention, to
Making a
to
major impact.
international incident. It turned into being an international incident to the fact that they wanted the school board, which I thought this too. The school board whole
Yeah.
thing was something too. That was a major story. It was a bunch of nuggets in here, guys. That like it's hard to say you one favorite part about this because everything.
Right.
But yeah, so when they got finished with that, they did an amazing job with the science fair.
Yes.
They blew away every
Blew
other
the
school.
other school. Yeah.
And then the school board, because of this international incident that happened because of Joshua, which started with Joshua and it ended up being it was his fault, and it affected him the most. But he didn't want to hear nothing. And what the funniest thing was is Joshua is always so cool. He is always so cool. But when he lasered that computer, I thought, oh, he done lost his everlasting right now.
Yes.
And then Matt was like, he lasered my mama gonna kick my butt.
Yes. He sure did. I was like,
it was like Joshua said he took his ball and went home. You know how to be on the basketball court.
Yeah.
You can't play with my rope.
Mad about something.
Yeah, just give me my daughter. We're leaving.
Give me my daughter. Just give me my daughter. I don't care. Find that bus. I don't care where it's at. And it was telling them it's out front.
It's right there. But look, when Sally and them came off the bus.
Oh my God.
He was like,
oh my God.
He grabbed Teddy and Sally's like, did we miss the kids thing? Yeah, you missed that and all.
Oh my God. And of course, with the era of cell phones, somebody caught that on that, and it went viral. And then now here is what is it? Emir,
the president of Emir, the king,
King sent over
his wife. Because their daughter was there, and now there's an international incident between the United States and Emir. Because what they
and I'm with Joshua telling King to have his own child.
Yep.
Oh yeah, but at that point, it was he was letting her see Teddy like behind the scenes. It was like a enclosed family thing.
Right.
He let the cat out the bag, and so
now the country is questioning
Right.
But there's another part of this story. It's so many pieces to the story.
Right.
Yes, it is.
There's another part of the story. Because of what Mac discovered on that disc and fixed
it,
so that the program could work. It ended up with the president of the United States visiting Marshall High. Now you got to understand, this is just like the president of the United States coming to a high school in the hood. Let me say that again. That's like the president of the United States shutting down everything and coming to the high school in the hood.
Yeah, I like that kid.
We don't do that. We don't do that. But not only did the president come, the president brought his protectors. Remember, he brought the whole the whole squad of his four protectors.
Right.
Protectors
Of the event, the kids
It was
thought
the
it was from the
Avengers.
Avengers game.
The Avengers game. And then the mayor came. Remember, the
LT
mayor
Palmer.
came.
Yeah.
And all of these
I thought that was so
dignitaries-
cool.
Yeah, all these big dignitaries came to Marshall High. And those kids had never seen anything like it.
Right.
And by
You know,
seeing the president up there, and then the mayor was up there, and then the Avengers. When the Avengers, let's go back. The mayor has a tech company, LT.
yeah.
Mayor Palmer owns a tech company. And in this tech company, he has like the top 3 video games.
Yeah,
video
he's a
games
game
in the world.
developer. Mm-hmm.
And one of them is called Avenger. The first one is the event is Avengers, and the second one is Avenger 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these 4 characters that are larger than life characters. And when those back doors opened up and those 4 people came walking in that doorway, that school, that entire audience in that school was just in awe.
Right.
Yeah, they lost their minds.
They done forgot about the president. They done forgot about the mayor up there on the stage. The Avengers walked up in that door. And
they all got a game. Don't forget they all got the game.
All got a game. Yeah, because of Mac, though. Because of Mac. But
because
it was
Mac, you will get a whole lot of girls now, man.
Yeah. It was another important scene in there where the kids was saying, I want to be like him. And it's like, who, the president? And he was like, no, I want to be like Coach. Because Coach got connections. And he said, you need connections.
Yes.
You need those type of connections. And I was like, check them out, analyze it.
And then too, to move past all of that, even after all of that, we got the president coming to the school. We got the kids, got all the games and all of that up there. The school board still wanted to have those kids, their winnings taken away from them, which was the monetary value, which all of them needed to help because they were either from single parents.
They ended up getting scholarship, free ride scholarship, full scholarship.
But remember,
the school board wanted to take that away. They wanted.
But the scholarship. Yeah, the scholarship they was trying to take away was the 15,000. They was each going to get 5,000. But after everything was said and done, they got full ride scholarships.
Yeah,
from the president or the mayor, whichever one. It never did say.
And they wanted to fire the principal. They wanted to take the principal away from there.
Because even though other kids that was at the science fair was saying Marsha shouldn't have been allowed to be in there.
Right. And look, what did LT say when he walked up in there? When he was walking up in there?
Oh yeah, he shut it down.
He was like, well, y'all can say what y'all want about me in front of my face, behind my back, or whatever. But I'm saying we're not going to get rid of a good principal is helping these kids.
That's right.
So, but my other favorite part is the backyard, of course.
Oh, when they had the cookout over at Matt's house,
and Max and Leah's house, you might as well say. Because she never went back to her house after Matt knocked her father through that wall.
Yeah, we missed that whole part.
Yeah. I know.
We missed that whole part.
Yeah, so that backyard scene was everything. Yeah, and when Joshua was making his announcement, and Joe he's not usually the speaker, but when he got everybody to be quiet, I was like, oh shoot.
right. Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh shoot.
This was really a well-rounded everyday story. This was
wait.
We
let me just say this and shirts.
Wait, you said what?
The skins and shirt football game.
Well, but the other thing too, I was saying
the bus. We forgot about the buses.
That's what.
We forgot when they did. Leah asked her all those questions. Did y'all have sex? I was like, well, damn, they didn't even sugarcoat that.
But I was
like,
gonna
yes, and it's going to do it again, and
So let's back up. We got to back up. They had a football game with the high school players and the Lasseter brothers so that they could raise money to pay for the bus that Leah was going to be, the gas for the bus that Leah was going to be using to carry them to the science fair. Right. That football game was hilarious because the Lasseters were in true form.
They were
when they were up on those bleachers. Because Terry, look, Leah won't take no junk off of them. She was, if she had to throw down, she was gonna throw down. She didn't know which way they was coming from. And Terry was gonna have her back. Terry was right there.
Terry was cracking the heck up.
But I think Leah handled it well. I think all of the
out of all of them, she was one of the best ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say all of the I don't know what you call them, the inquests when they have the dates. They're all different and they were all good. This one was really good too. I can't say which one is my favorite because this one was good, but then so was Denise's too. So
and they didn't have half of them didn't even have to play football.
Right.
But also we got to talk about the gift that Matthew put together for Leah. Because when he threw her father through the wall, he told him he wanted him to get out of his house, and instead of using the door, he threw him through the wall.
Now, he raised his hand to Leah. That's why he got thrown. If it was just a heated conversation, he would have just clicked him off, but he raised his hand to Leah.
Check out how he sent Leah to get the aspirin so he can make sure her father understood.
But so they had a conversation about her starting her own business. Why do you need your father? And that
right.
Leah was a daddy's girl. She
was a daddy's girl, and her father was gonna never do right by her.
Never
do right by her.
And I kind of also felt a little some kind of way with Carter too, even after the fact, because the father went and was doing his whole little song and dance and playing the victim or whatever. And I think he did say something to his dad, but it was just like when Leah walked in there, it was just like, so you just let somebody hit dad or whatever, like, dude, like, really? He didn't even tell the whole story. So find out what the whole story was before you start, passing judgment. So I kind of had a little thing about that with him.
But that was, we're not going to discuss it now because it's in another book, but that was a thing about Carter, like everything that went on that he wasn't there for, but he knew he was older, so he knew how the parents was and everything. So he chose to separate himself from that, but his sister had to actually live to go through it.
Yeah.
So,
but I will say this. Matthew decided was he never asked his family for anything. He never for himself, never. But he did go to his family to tell them the situation with Leah and what he wanted to do. And because he turned to them, they had that thing locked down within
all of them.
Well, he actually just told Luke, and Luke was like, he got the family together and everything.
They had everything. They started making those phone calls, start using those names, dropping those names, and they had that bus waiting for her after that football game.
Yeah, and I love how like Timothy and Opal, the money people, how they came, together. Everything was legit about it. But when she walked up on that bus, I don't know, was that like that they say that, or did when she stepped up on the bus, the intercom said that welcome to Leah's,
No, they said that. They said that when she came on the bus. And Terry was sitting there with her big cheese.
But they was singing it something and some welcome to Leah's charter service or something. Yeah. Some kind of way that they said that.
It was almost like as soon as she walked up on the bus, like it was like, like a censor or something.
Right. That just
started. That's what I thought it was.
That's what they made it seem like.
Said, welcome to Leah's luxury travels or something like that.
Yeah. And she was just too thrilled. She did not know how to say thank you at that point, because
and I think her and Matt too were overwhelmed with what was done for them. Yeah,
I believe Matt was definitely overwhelmed.
Yes, I think so too. But it was so much in this story. So many good, like Midnight would say, so many good nuggets was in this particular story. And I know we hear about Joshua all the time. We hear about Luke all the time. We hear about fire all the time. But I'm telling you guys, you want to read the book of Matthew's Adonis, because this is our everyday hero.
See, I always knew
everyday
was
hero.
special.
But so far, correct me if I'm wrong, but so far out of the Gems Gent series, as far as everyday life and just your run-of-the-mill people, it's Matthew and Ruby. No, it's Matthew and Ruby. You know, as far as
Ruby's life is a little different. Is a little more
but
high.
They still were the
but when she started out not feeling like she was
Timothy
good enough.
Timothy and Opal too. They kind of have that low scale kind of life too.
Yeah.
But you need that balance.
For a minute.
You need that balance. No, Jade is different. Jade is in theater in New York, Lakers, Hollywood heartthrob.
But I'm saying before that, you didn't really,
No, I'm as far as I'm talking about where their stations are in life.
Okay.
Yeah, Jade is a celebrity, but you're right. It was Matthew. It's Opal and Timothy, and it's Ruby. They are on the ground. Yeah, those are your under the radar kind of Lasseters.
And they're really heroes, because in Ruby, Ruby is about the community, just like Matthew is about the community, you know.
Yes.
And
when that's where Matthew got it from.
Right. We found out that that's where he got it from. Because I think I did a poll on one of our chats, and I said which Lasseters are most closely alike, and I said it was Matt and Ruby. And a lot of people felt that way. Yeah,
they were. And I know. Listen, we are already at the end of our hour and talking about this, and I know to our listening audience, we were all over
the place.
And this is the thing about good stories, because good stories, you can never really tell them from beginning to end. You always got to jump to those
favorite spots, those memorable
favorite scenes that just stuck out in your mind. Because when you say a Matthew book, I think about on stage when the president was there, and the LT was there, the mayor was there, and the Avengers walked through those doors. That's what I think about when I think about Matthew's book. And I think about the conversation between him and Luke, when he was so down on himself, and it was Luke that kind of built him up a little bit. So it's a number of different scenes in this book that is just they're going to stick with you.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to relate to them. Now we are down to 2 minutes, ladies, and we haven't talked about music, and we have not talked about wine. So real quick, MsPrissy, give us a song from Matthew and Midnight while MsPrissy is looking, because she's not ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. I have the Manhattans, honey.
Okay.
Yes. It feels so good to be loved so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I could go with that one.
I'm not mad at that one. All right, I can go with that. Now, Midnight, what you got for the wine?
For wine, we went to Michigan, honey. We went to our Michigan wineries, and we got a Highway 5 Pinot Noir, California 2021. And this one is a red wine, of course, because y'all know that's my favorite. It's very mellow, a little bit sweet, and medium bold. But it's a great wine. You can have it in any kind of dinner with this one right here. It's a chill wine.
Okay, real quick, Midnight, while you're talking, tell the listening audience where they can reach you outside of
when I'm not hanging out with these ladies talking about books galore. You can find me at MidnightAce Book Bar on social media. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Pinterest at MidnightAce Book Bar. My website is www.midnightacebookbar.com. And guys, as of yesterday, I am now doing custom creations, and you can find my items in America's Antique Mall in Highland, Indiana. Bloop, go back and check me out.
Right, congratulations. MsPrissy, let the audience know where they can find you outside of, well, there you go.
You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all social media platforms. And you can reach me at my Gmail at styleset.et@gmail.com. That's stylesett.et@gmail.com.
Thank you, MsPrissy. And my name again is, I'm your host, Iris Bolling. You can find all things Iris at www.irisbolling.com. You got me on Facebook, Iris Bolling, Twitter, Iris Bolling, Instagram, Iris Bolling. But you want to find out about me, go to my website. Again, we have ran over time a little bit, folks. So we want to thank you for listening to our discussion of the book of Matthew, Adonis. And we will be back with you next week. Until the next time, let it go, people. Let them say bye.
Bye. Well, there you go.